This is a particular day of celebration for us as Catholics. We believe and celebrate the gift today of the priesthood and of the Eucharist, and Jesus showing us what the priesthood really means. It was interesting. I was having a conversation recently with a priest who was telling me a story about a mutual friend of ours. This is out on the East Coast, so you don't have to worry about. I wonder who he's talking about. A mutual friend of ours on the East Coast who had been trained at the Vatican to do lots of things. Very talented person, very talented priest, and had lots of, could speak multiple languages and all these sorts of things. And his bishop came to him, and his bishop kind of wanted him to kind of go and do some more, some more diplomatic, work in kind of the hierarchy of the church. Maybe, volunteer to be a diplomat of some kind. We have lots of things that need to be done at the universal church level, whether it's working on annulments or canon law cases or whatever it might be. It's not a huge bureaucracy or anything like that, but there's always a need for people to do that sort of work, priests and lay people alike. But it's interesting because I wanted to share, his bishop came to him at some point. This priest was working in a parish at the time. His bishop came to him and he said, "Are you done yet? Are you bored yet with making holy water?" Which is sort of a derogatory dig at pastors of parishes, as if that's all we do, sit around and make holy water. As pastors, blessing, by making holy water, he meant, taking the jars of water and so forth and blessing them and then filling the holy water fonts. That's, kind of what we do. And I understand, it wasn't like a hugely horrible thing. I've heard the expression before, right? But the idea that a pastor or a parish priest is somehow, sort of like, well, that's all you can do, you can go ahead and be that. But if you're called to the big leagues, right, maybe that's awesome. To this priest's credit too, he wanted to be a parish priest. He wanted to be a pastor, and I think he kind of gave it back to his bishop a little bit about that. But the reason I bring that up is we probably have heard that too about parents. Or maybe you've heard that about your life from someone. That, well, if that's all you're doing, then okay, if that's all you can manage, if you're just a parent. That idea that somehow being a parent, being a priest, being a person living a life of sacrifice for others, even if you're not as a parent, that's somehow sort of like settling, is highly offensive and highly wrong and highly of the world, highly of the evil one, right? To look down on those who sacrifice for other people, whether that's to think of parish priests or parents or anyone who is sacrificing their life for others, to look down on that, to talk bad about that, is of the devil. Because Jesus says what it means to be a priest, and also what it means to be, we are all called through our baptism to be priests in various ways. To be a person who sacrifices, Jesus says, this is what it is. Would that bishop, I wonder, go to Jesus and say the same thing? Are you just a foot washer? Or are you ready for the big leagues? And Jesus would say, I'm just a foot washer. Because it's precisely what he does. And this isn't like one of if you categorize the lessons that Jesus taught, this just happened to be the last chapter. No, you save the most important stuff for the last class. And this was the last class, or one of the last classes. He has a few classes after he resurrects, right? This is one of his most pivotal classes, and he says, this is what it means to follow me. As a parent, as a priest, as a single person, anyone, that is, all of us are called to sacrifice. And this is what it means. It means to serve others. It means to get down on your knee, to humble yourself. And as soon as you think you're a big deal, watch out. If you think that you're a big deal, that's a sign that that you're really close to falling. We must get down on our knees. We must serve others. Washing their feet is a sign of all forms of service, all types of care. Being there for our children, being there for our parishioners, being there for one another, being there for the poor, being there for the marginalized when they need us, and not only just being there, but serving them. If you have any other notion about what's important in this world beyond service, then the devil, like Judas, is some way he is inside of us in that way, telling us that, and it's a lie. Jesus says, this is where you will find your identity. This is what it means to be a human being. And this is what it means to be fully alive. To be a person who serves. To be a person who loves. There are great men as priests serving in other roles besides pastors. I don't mean that in any way. But we are called, we find our identity in service. If those priests see their other jobs as service that they are, then I hope the story made sense. Service gives us our meaning in life. It is our vocation to serve. And the thing that we learn is that when we do that, we find life. There are a lot of people living for themselves who would never get down on a knee and serve someone else. They would never do that. And their lives are miserable. It is precisely when we serve other people, when we sacrifice our time, our desires, our things that we had wanted to do, as soon as we set that aside, we start to live. And we start to find meaning and we start to find joy. We pray tonight for the faith that it takes to trust that sometimes the things that I want to do are wrong, and that service is what we are all called to do. That it is in serving one another that we will find the happiness that Christ promises to all his followers.